Sometimes the same word or idea comes up 3 or 4 times over the course of a day or a week and gets me thinking about how that idea or word, the different sort of implications, how it applies to different aspects of life. And that concept or word over the last 12 days is capacity. I was having capacity problems with my phone once I got to Sylvan Beach trying to upload new videos, and I struggled with that for about a week. So today I'm in Medina, and I went to a local coffee shop called the Coffee Pot Cafe. Very nice. I should go to more coffee shops and fewer bars, or at least go to more coffee shops. And I took out my notebook and I was kind of outlining the trip from Brewerton to Syracuse to Baldwinsville. I thought maybe I would do that all in a video, one video, because I didn't think that there was much that happened. And then as I started to write, I realized there was a ton of details, and I just couldn't, they're not at the top of my mind until I start thinking about them. And I was thinking, really since this trip began, I have met so many different people, seen so many different places, learned so much about engines and alternative energy generation, and added to my episodic memory that I'm sort of at capacity myself in terms of my brain. And that's why it's important to write. I need to start writing these things down because I'm not able to put more into my head at this point, just the way I couldn't put more photos or videos into my phone because I didn't have the capacity. Writing has a similar function to dreaming insofar as you're encoding things from short-term into long-term memory. It's also like outsourcing from your phone into an external hard drive. That external hard drive is the writing itself, and you can go back and look at those memories later. So again, like John Adams said, if we don't record our travels, then our lives are like a flight of birds flying through the sky, and no one will ever know that we were there. Dreaming and creative writing are two subjects that I have studied for about 25 years, always been fascinated by them. When I was a senior in high school, I was in an AP psychology class, and my big project was over the course of the year to write down and analyze with different kind of approaches 25 of my dreams. I still have them in a binder. It's fascinating to go back and reread a description of a dream from when I was 16 and 17 years old, and then I can picture it again. I remember the dream once I go back and I reread it. That's what creative writing is. I think of writing as, I don't want to say hypnosis, but there's a hypnotic effect to reading. And as a writer, I'm sort of conscious of the fact that my reader is experiencing the information that I give to them. And just as in a dream, there's that scene in Inception when they're in a bar or something and somebody says, "How did you get here?" And the guy can't remember, right? Because he didn't get there. He's just jumping from one scene to another, and our mind has this gestalt attribute to it where it puts everything together into a story. So if I'm going to say that I'm going to a grocery store, I don't need to write that, I went down the stairs, I turned the key, I entered the car, I accelerated. You just say I left my apartment at the grocery store, comma, blah, 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 blah. And, the reader's mind will put the story together. And they will use their conception of a grocery store, their conception of an apartment, their conception of what a city looks like, etc. You don't have to fill in those details. If I write a menu, you picture what a menu looks like. That's like the quintessential menu, maybe from when you were a kid, that got encoded into your memory. I kept up that dream journal when I went to college, but I got a little more methodical about it. Every night before I went to sleep, I would write down what I ate, what time it was, what I had, ingested, what things were on my mind that were bothering me, and then I would try to wake up, record those dreams, and then the next day, do a bit of an analysis of what I thought was the connection between the imagery and what was showing up in my dreams and what was going on in my life. Because, dreams are, let's say you experience someone being jealous, and that kind of gets in your mind, right? But there's no picture of jealousy except for maybe somebody else that you've seen that was jealous. So maybe you dream of the girl that was jealous in kindergarten. She shows up in your dream, and you're like, why the heck did that girl show up in my dream? And the causal connection, or I guess the informational connection, between your encoded memories is jealousy, right? So experiencing in your daytime experience something like jealousy primes this associational cluster of jealous things and brings up the image of that person that was jealous when you were a kid. There were two key takeaways from that dream journal, freshman, sophomore year of college. The first was, surprisingly, memories that were encoded, the dreams that were happening, were associated with things that I had experienced not that day, but 2 days before. There was like a line, a queue of information getting encoded, and it took 2 cycles of sleep to get to the memories from 2 days ago. And I think that was just because of sleep deprivation. I'm in college, we're just drinking all the time and, staying up late and not getting good sleep. And that's the capacity issue that I'm sort of talking about right now. It's like cramming for a test. You've got so much information that your mind is trying to put into your long-term brain, and that's one of the functions of sleep, I think, is to take this information. You can only remember like 7 numbers, right? And memorize them at a time, right? Why? Because you've got decay, and you've got interference from new things coming into your short-term memory that's kicking out the stuff that's already in there. I would say you've got a working memory, which is, I got to remember this combination to get into the bathroom over here. So I remember that for 5 seconds or whatever, 5 minutes. And then you've got your short-term memory, which is a little bit bigger, and it's got a certain amount of RAM, like your, operating system on your computer would have. And, but that also has limited capacity, and it is decaying and information is getting bumped out. So when you sleep, one function, because I think there's more than one function to sleep, and specifically dreaming, I think what your mind is doing is sort of filtering out and getting rid of stuff that's in that short-term memory and encoding it into long-term memory and sort of defragmenting your hard drive, making it more efficient and putting it wherever it needs to go. And dreams are kind of just like the associated experience of that. Yes, so I lost my train of thought there. You see, I mean that's kind of what I'm saying. So that's what the experience, though, of having a overfilled short-term and working memory is an inability to concentrate because you've got too much, right? You're going all over the place, and a feeling of mental tiredness. It's, you want to know, you go to sleep because you're physically tired. But a lot of times you go to sleep because you're mentally tired, right? And sometimes I think that's maybe why I'm able to go into REM sleep in like a minute within closing my eyes is because, maybe I'm perpetually, sort of mentally tired, which I don't know if that's good. I mean, on the one hand, Teddy Roosevelt used to read, like 10 books at a time, and I do that too. I read like 2 pages of one book, then I go to the next book, the next book, and then I go back to the first one, and I love that. And Teddy Roosevelt used to call it cross-pollinating ideas, right? Which is just what dreaming is, right? You're putting together these associational clusters. But then when you need your memory, when you need your working memory, you need your mind to work like real fast, I feel like sometimes it can be a little like clogged up. And then I find that I make stupid mistakes, right? Leaving my phone over here or stubbing my toe because I'm not paying attention to what's going on, versus, you take a few days, you get as much sleep as you possibly can, and I wake up feeling like a new person because my mind is clear. So I think that's an important attribute of sleep. All of which is to say, I've got some big decisions I need to make, and I'm going to make sure that I get sleep before I make those decisions. So hopefully I'll be in Lockport tonight or tomorrow, and that's getting real close to Buffalo. And, some of the things I got to think about here are how am I going to transport this boat overland from Buffalo to Pittsburgh so I can keep going on my trip. I got to either hire somebody, find somebody that'll do that, or throw somebody some money to help me do it, or I don't know, or do something else. I don't know. On the other hand, it's getting late in the season now. It's getting cold at night. On Tuesday, which is when I expect to hopefully get to Buffalo, it will be the exact day of September that in 2018 I put my boat in at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh and the Ohio River flows mostly west. It actually flows north a little bit, and then west, and then a little bit southwest. So it doesn't go south, it goes west. So I'm not like keeping up with the seasons like I would if I'm on the Mississippi going south. And after 45 days of being on that river, it was cold. It was below freezing at night. My batteries, which are lithium ion, cannot charge when it's below freezing. It destroys the batteries. But I haven't really been using them. But I guess, so I got to think about that. Or, like I said, now I'm getting to this point where I have not really the capacity to take in any more information. I want to be writing about the information. I want to circle back to a lot of these towns, see things that I didn't get to see because I didn't anticipate how much of my day was going to require just physical. I have to constantly be at the helm. I can't even take my hand off the helm to really, text my mother or anything like that. So that's hours out of the day. Sleeping is hours out of the day. I didn't get to see a lot of the old canal, and I've started to meet people and get tips of things I need to see, but I can't see them and keep moving on. So I'm dealing with that. Part of me wants to see if I can take the boat out at Buffalo, maybe cycle back to Albany, or come back via a truck and redouble and see the things that I haven't seen after I get some sleep, and then do the Mississippi and the Ohio next year, or do I get a bigger motor and after I somehow transport this boat to Pittsburgh, go like 10 miles an hour and just try to get to New Orleans as quickly as possible. But then I will have only done what I said I wanted to do, according to the letter, not according to the spirit, right? Because I want to go slowly. I've really enjoyed stopping at these towns. That's the whole point. But I guess what I didn't anticipate was how taxing that was going to be physically in this boat and mentally in terms of just like with my phone, I don't have enough storage space to take everything in and analyze it. and I'm getting eager to start analyzing. Things are starting to become the same, and I don't want them to become the same. I want to remember them before they decay, and I want to see more. So, these are things that are on my mind, and I'm thinking, Lockport seems like a big place. Maybe I'll take a day off and just get a hotel room, cheap hotel room, and just sleep for like 12 hours, and then see if I have any additional clarity or what comes up. Anyhow, I'm in Medina, working on an update from 10 days ago about Brewerton to Syracuse to Baldwinsville. Hopefully I'll get that done later today. And there's that delay I was talking about in terms of when I would have my dreams of like 2 days before. My updates are becoming a week before I'm able to get them up. If only I had like a staff, a camera person, maybe somebody to drive the boat, and then somebody to, help with logistics, maybe from shore. But I don't have those things, so I got to do all that, and it's a lot. So I'm gonna get a good night's sleep, and I'll figure things out, and I'll update you soon. Sorry, this video was somewhat rambling, but I hope you see the associational connection between capacity, dreaming, creative writing, and the experience that I am having. Hey, if you do actually like this kind of content and want me to keep making more videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That would be fantastic. I'm getting real close to 500, and that would be like a milestone. Maybe I'll do a backflip or something, if I hit that mark. So it's Saturday. Enjoy your day wherever you are.